right, greetings, and you've been pulled into the black dimension. This is KF, Donnie, and Roger, and we are here once again to do a throwback discussion. We have covered the previous two Matrix films, and now we're going to complete the trilogy. Well, at the time, it was a trilogy. Matrix Revolutions released back in 2003. This movie was released in the same year, within a few months of The Matrix Reloaded. Now, here's what I'll say about this film. Although the film was good and it contained some of the best action sequences I've seen in The Matrix, the film seemed a bit rushed. It's not the best of the three. I would say the best of the three was probably be the first Matrix, with Matrix Reloaded being an extremely strong second. So this is what we're here to have our throwback discussion on the Matrix Revolutions. What's going on, fellas?
What up?
Man,
What
what's
up? What
popping?
up?
What's popping? Man, I feel the exact opposite way. So I'm just a little surprised he said The Matrix was definitely a great film, but I actually thought it took it up a notch and reloaded. Revelation, some I would have to say, yeah, it's probably the third best. I just feel a little bit different about one and two, but
Uh,
uh,
well,
So,
the reason why I said that though was the fact that the first Matrix was so groundbreaking. But
true,
yeah,
true. Can't argue that. It definitely was groundbreaking.
here's the thing we got to think about when we look at these films, right? Each one of these films was revolutionary in its own aspect, and I do not believe, based on what we know today, foresight. And I never really felt like this, that this franchise was over at this mark, right? I felt like this was maybe a 6 or 7 franchise movie because it was so intricate, the story that they were telling. We had introduced in the last movie the concept of Neo being the one, but not the only one, right? And then you have to spring forward from there. And this movie covered it. And not to mention, this movie also covered a lot more of what was going on in the quote unquote reality of the Matrix universe. This was something that really needed to be shown. The fighting ability, them building shells, them fighting against the machines, which was very clearly a one sided war. I just felt like this story needed to be told.
yeah, yeah. There were actually two major conflicts in this film. It was the machines versus the remainder of humanity in the Battle of Zion, and it was the final confrontation. Well, at the time, the final confrontation between Neo and Agent Smith, which had been brewing since the first film. Like, if Neo is the yin, Smith is definitely the yang. And yeah, it was a lot of things that happened in this film to make the conflict that way. Like, see, like in the second film, Agent Smith was absolutely zero match for Neo, even in even with hundreds of Agent Smiths attacking Neo, still no match. What happened in this film was Agent Smith, he picked the right one to clone himself in, which was the Oracle. See, the Oracle is a very powerful program. So once he cloned himself into her, it helped him actually become stronger than Neo. If you had noticed in that final fight, Agent Smith had the edge. You know.
So the way I took that thing was it unlocked something in himself, that he felt like he was missing, and whatever that could have been. Because apparently, according to the mythology and the lore, you had the architect and you had the oracle. Those were the two tier beings. So I felt like that maybe, and again, this is with foresight. So, but I feel like that helped him reach the full potential of his ability, as opposed to him getting into the oracle's body and then becoming a higher being. I felt like once it was in his code, he knew what he could do. He knew what he could do. Right? He became Bruce Leroy in a sense.
Interesting takes by both of you. Um, Now, the fact that he could see more beyond himself, I'll say that. Once he got the Oracle on his team. Yeah, he did seem to take it up a notch, and he seemed to know that instantly, which is why so much laughter right after he took over her particular body. So yeah, you Neo did not have the edge that he started off with and previous to the film, and Smith was definitely far more capable because Neo had showed that taking on even upgraded agents, multiple upgraded agents, was not a problem. Yet Smith was definitely a problem by himself, with one being later on in the film. So um, it was a very interesting way to take it. I didn't see it coming, which was good because I didn't see that coming. When we first saw the film, I didn't expect Smith to get the Oracle.
So this is why I say that, and stop me if I'm dragging the combo on because we won't get too deep into it. But this is why I say this was for Agent Smith when he grabbed the Oracle and he took over the Oracle. He skipped a few steps, right? Neo still was trying to learn his abilities, and this was evident via the real world when the squids, as they call them, came in and he stopped them dead in their tracks. Neo
Yeah,
was still learning things. Go ahead.
I think that what happened was instead of like they was like in the Reloaded when the one is supposed to be the guy that okay you go through this door you can choose 23 of the smartest people out of the Matrix to rebuild Zion. If you go back, you're going to get Zion destroyed, and it's going to be the extinction of humanity. Neo was the one out of all of the anomalies to actually go back to try to save Zion instead of doing exactly what the architect said. So I think it altered his code, and it altered it so much to the point where it put him in between the actual Matrix and the real world. So that's why he was able to, that little push thing that everybody sees in the new movie. That's where he started doing that little push thing. Like,
Oh,
when they finally got to the surface and went to the Machine City, like I like the scene. It was visually amazing how how the machines just got together. Oh, these motherfuckers are coming. Uh, yeah, we gonna shoot everything that we possibly can at them to stop them. And and Neo he held his hand out and shoot, and he shot to the sky. You
well,
know, it,
he felt it. He said something was right, didn't he? He was like, I feel something, and he was like, let me shut these niggas down.
yeah, yeah. Also, one thing that you did learn was that if like for Smith's cloning abilities could extend to the real world because when he cloned that one guy in Matrix Reloaded, he had a definite impact in Matrix Revolutions, which also was symbolic of the rivalry between Smith and Neo.
So that was an interesting thing because it conceptually made sense. If Smith was an agent who was able to take over the minds and therefore project his being onto the people in the Matrix, right? He was able to do that in the real world and then pick up the phone with that person's body. So that was a very interesting conversation. Or that is a very interesting conversation to have because in my mind, Smith being a fucking computer should have been like, oh, I can snatch up all these niggas and have hundreds of me's running around. Oh, let's do that. But ego got into the computer at that point, which was Smith was very much human, um, which kind of lends itself to my theory that Neo, being the one, was an infectious type of anomaly. That once he jumped into the into Smith, he infected him in more ways than one. Smith got powers, Smith got abilities, but he became a little bit more human than logical, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, because he even said that in the second film. He said that he knew what he was supposed to do as a program, but he was just so compelled not to do it. He was supposed to go back to the source to get deleted, but he didn't want to do it. And by the time the final fight happened, if you didn't notice, Smith about cloned himself and everyone. that was in the
Yeah,
Matrix.
he took over the whole of whatever city they were in at the very most part, minimum.
No,
Yeah,
I actually read it as he took over the entire Matrix. That's how I kind of read that because he had an insatiable appetite for what he was doing, and he wasn't going to stop until it was done. So I took it as he took over the whole Matrix. They just didn't need to show us the whole world to um
Mm.
to accept that. But yeah, him dialing himself into the phone, yeah, conceptually for the movie, it made all the sense in the world. I didn't really question that because of the person's consciousness was in the matrix. So somehow that phone was transferring one conscious to another. Now, can a program have a conscious is the question.
Well, so
I mean,
that was the whole narrative with the Matrix to from jump, right? So if we go back from the Animatrix and everything that we had, the computer did not want to die, and the whole issue we had was in the first Matrix was it seemed like it was a big brother, and it seemed like it was just one program in control of everything, and they had sub programs to do XYZ. And then we learned in the second Matrix that we had the Frenchman, the Moravian or whatever he's called, and various other
Merovingian.
the
programs.
Merovingian.
There you go. We had various other programs with their own ideals, their own ideologies, and this is where we begin to learn that we had the architect who felt some type of way, and we had the oracle who felt some type of way. And oracle had people under her and other programs XYZ. So we started to learn in the second Matrix that there was a sort of a AI or a soul with these characters where they had their own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. So I feel like the third Matrix, it made a lot of sense, especially when you have Neo who piloted a ship to the machine city or the internet, whatever city you want to call it, right? And you had different creatures swirling around him, like, what the fuck is this human? Yo, and we kind of we went from there.
Yeah, the can you imagine it though? The machines like, okay, we got this on lock and got so desperate they had to go. Well, they had to get a human to help them out. Like Neo being the anomaly, and then the one they knew that the machines knew that they would. They pretended at first like they didn't need him, but they actually realized they did because Neo said, "Hey, Smith is out of control." And when you saw him jack back into the Matrix via the computers, well, via the machines in the first place, then uh, that I would say that was the trap. Okay, that was the
Boom.
trap.
Yep.
That was a trap. See what happened when Neo jacked back into the Matrix through the machines. He actually jacked himself back into the source.
Hmm.
So when you saw Smith clone himself into Neo, which let me see.
So do you feel like they gave him an edge, him being jacked into the source as opposed to like the pirate frequency?
No, what happened was it made Neo traceable again, jacking into the machines. So when Smith cloned himself into Neo, it put Smith right back into the source code. And supposedly deleted him, and the machines made peace with the humans, and albeit a temporary peace nonetheless. Now, yeah, so that's how I saw that. They trapped Smith back into going back to the source. you
What
know
that made a lot of sense. The way I took it was, regardless of whatever the situation is, humans are still going to have that uh, quote unquote humanity that separates them. Therefore, that's going to be the winning edge because I looked at it as Neo as an anomaly. He gave that anomaly ability to Smith. Since Smith, while he took on human traits, quote unquote, right? He was able to interact and, as Roger said, take over the entirety of the Matrix. He put himself into every person in the Matrix. But the dynamic there was you had a human come in, and that human edge, quote unquote, gave him the ability to beat Smith because very clearly, in my opinion, The fucking robots couldn't do it.
No, not at
Yeah,
all. Like
yeah,
the robots are more of a physical manifestation. Like if you get into the software part of it, he could have destroyed the whole entire everything. The humans in the Matrix, the machines themselves, Zion. Because remember that in the first film, he was like, "I need the codes to Zion so I can destroy it because I'm tired of this place." You know, and
absolutely.
Smith, he tried to see that goal to the very end. Now, the Battle of Zion, that was pretty cool. I like the visuals on that one. And give it up for Captain Mafuni. Like, he went out like a true
Man,
soldier.
that
Yeah,
little
he
Hawaiian
wasn't
nigga went
playing
out
with
there and did his damn thing.
him. Oh yeah, that he had one hell of a speech. You know that if we have to, he said we have to give these bastards as our lives. Let's give them hell before we do. That's how you go out like a soldier, right there. That that's hype for the fight. So
And I mean, like, and think about it. Zion had absolutely zero chance of winning that that battle. Like, I mean, once the driller, like, when they was trying to concentrate all their fire on that first hole, and then you heard the music just kind of build up, and then all those sentinels just spilled in there the way they did. I was like, these fuckers have absolutely zero chance.
It's a wrap. It was
yeah, it was
so
over.
disappointed. The motherfuckers, was running around trying to stop that drill with everything they had, and they was like, "Yeah, we won." And the motherfucking machines came back in and was like, "Nah, fuck this. What you thought you was doing? Let's start this shit up." Oh no!
The
Oh
machines
no!
was like, we just getting started. We ain't really got it yet. We're really just starting to do this thing. So yeah, it was definitely overwhelmed. Now I don't know how Smith was going to take care of the outside world. I will throw that in. I knew Smith was going to take over the Matrix. There was nothing the computers were going to do about that. But unless you had Bane, whose body he entered, unless Bane figured out how to set everything up so he could start transferring himself into other people.
Well, nah. As long as Smith took over the Matrix, he had won the game. If he took over the Matrix, they couldn't make energy without him, which is what they were doing. Therefore, he became their source of power and everything else. And he would have just infected the main system at that point.
Well, my well, that I mean that is a good in theory, but I'm gonna say that unless Bane figured out how to start transferring people, which not saying he couldn't have, but you need to know how to transfer for consciousness from the Matrix into the real world in order for him to really truly take over the real world. And not saying he wouldn't have, because Smith was definitely about his purpose. At the end of the day, everything was about purpose for him, and it looked like his true purpose was to take over. That's for sure. Not sure if he'd have been able to get it done though.
Now, the whole Bane thing, I think, like, that was just, I mean, I don't even believe that Agent Smith knew what he was doing when he cloned himself into Bane right before Bane went it
Oh
back in.
no. He was
I,
fucked up. He was fucked up when he first got back. He was like, what the fuck?
yeah, I mean, he actually hated being human. It's like he hated it, but if it were going to get him closer to killing Mr. Anderson, if it was going to get him close to getting that, that was something that he was just willing to do. But Smith, by being that way, being able to manifest in the real world in the Matrix the way he did, it makes him one of the most dangerous villains in movie history.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
that
we grant you that. We grant you that.
Yeah, but yeah, this movie was great. This movie was great. It had two conflicts. It was between like I said, between the remaining humans of Zion and the machines. Which, I mean, the machines were just overwhelmingly powerful. And what I'm thinking is, if the machines were that powerful, why didn't they just wipe out Zion at any time? Instead of this whole prophecy thing and it's just wipe them the fuck out. I mean, you got the capabilities, you got the armaments. I mean, these people are recycling piss to drink. and like the machines have completely taken over the earth. One small enclave couldn't possibly be that powerful.
Well,
But
that's the thing with machines. They don't have the they look at percentages and not the emotions of the aspect, and sometimes the emotions of the emotional aspect of war is going to lead you to do things like, you know, cut out a whole species of people, right? Whereas they might have looked at it like, well, it's a 2% probability that there'll be a problem to us, right? And that 2% eventually kicked them in the ass.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah. And then machines are systematic. So to me, it makes sense that they would move in a system like manner when it comes to um, destroying Zion and rebuilding a new Zion and without
yeah,
totally eliminating humans. It's just a systematic thing to do, which suggests a computer's mindset.
yeah. And I also gotta let, I also gotta add this. Maybe it's because, like, in a way, the machines needed Zion to thrive. A little bit, because I mean, because it was like the architect explained it, that we have to do these things these ways so we won't have a complete system crash and then it's the end of humanity. And he was like, well, you know what, there are certain levels of survival that we are willing to accept, which means that if we lose humanity, then we'll have to go to another system. Yeah, so basically the machines, after being overwhelming winners, were doing the humans a favor. Just based on, if anyone watched the Animatrix, you see how the humans treated the machines right before they did all this stuff. So, when the machines started developing the AI and feelings, then that's when they, said, well, fuck this bullshit. We're going to make these humans into batteries and we're going to survive our way. But the anomaly, the one Neo, by the end of the film, had saved humanity.
And you know what? I can say that I truly wondered for decades what really happened to Neo.
Well, supposedly they got that answer in the newest and latest film, Matrix Resurrections. So, uh, definitely check that out if you want some questions answered, and we'll definitely have our review coming up on that as well. But just because of that, film, we felt appropriate that we do the throwbacks on the original Matrix trilogy, a groundbreaking success. Yeah, it revamped Keanu Reeves' career, and it did multiple things for the culture. Lawrence Fishburne is Morpheus. Very groundbreaking role. I mean, like I said, the subject of many memes, and just a pop culture phenomenon. So, yeah, the Matrix. The only other time I ever heard the word Matrix was in Transformers: The Matrix of Leadership. But this definitely took the Matrix to a whole new level. If you're like, especially if you're somebody, if you're like a computer hacker, or if you're just a person who likes science fiction, this trilogy right here will definitely stand the test of time. Has definitely stood the test of time. So, anything else, fellas?
I'll just say again, as I said in the other broadcast, the Matrix was so groundbreaking that there's Hollywood before the Matrix, and then there's Hollywood after the Matrix. So that's pretty powerful. Great film, great trilogy. Had a great time rewatching it.
Yeah, it was a win for me. So y'all make sure y'all check out the new one, and we'll give you a review on that soon.
Alrighty. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this throwback trilogy. We will be definitely coming to you with more throwbacks in the future. But for right now, this throwback is done on the Matrix Revolutions. Check out our other two throwbacks we did on the Matrix and the Matrix Reloaded. And you who have watched a complete set. Now, like Donnie said, our review on the Matrix Resurrections, the recent film that, was released. Just not too long ago. We got that review coming, so definitely tune in. But we're gonna bring this particular one to an end. Donnie, Roger, anything else to say before we close it?
Oh, sign it out. Sign it out.
Word. All right. And you have been pulled into the black dimension once again. Good luck finding your way out. check us out next time. Thank you.